Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics here at The Hindu with me, Nistula Hebbar, where we unpack the news making the headlines in domestic politics. This week, just like last week, we will return to Maharashtra, where in a dramatic turn of events, former Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray resigned from his post on June 29th after the Supreme Court refused to stay a floor test ordered by the Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshyari for Thursday, June 30th. While Thackeray's resignation after the Supreme Court's refusal to stay the floor test was expected, former Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis' announcement on Thursday that the leader of the rebel faction of the Shiv Sena, Eknath Shinde, who commanded the support of the majority of Shiv Sena MLAs in the state assembly, would be the next chief minister, was a bolt out of the blue. What was even more shocking was the flip-flop that happened over Fadnavis' own participation in the state government. On Thursday afternoon, while announcing the name of Eknath Shinde for the post of Chief Minister, Devendra Fadnavis had said that he himself would be keeping out of the government. He would support it from outside and that Shinde's appointment as Chief Minister would be the BJP's way of honoring the legacy of Shiv Sena founder Balasaheb Thackeray, the only ally of the BJP who was with them on the grounds of Hindutva. He sought to project the idea that the Shinde-led faction of the Sena was the real Sena and that the Uddhav-led faction of the Shiv Sena was the collaborative sort of Shiv Sena that compromised with parties like the Nationalist Congress Party and the Congress Party itself. These are parties that Balasaheb Thackeray had opposed all his life just to be the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Now, a few hours after this announcement, BJP President J.P. Nadda made an unprecedented appeal to Fadnavis, asking that he too take oath as Deputy Chief Minister. BJP, especially since the advent of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the helm of affairs, has been good at managing things below the radar. And such a public appeal by the party president pointed out that Fadnavis, not being made Chief Minister, was uninterested in serving as Deputy Chief Minister. A few minutes after that, Home Minister Amit Shah also tweeted that Fadnavis, responding to appeals by the party, had decided to join the new government. The question that arises over all of this was about the reasoning behind this surprising turn of events in Maharashtra. This episode of Talking Politics will look into these questions. As I mentioned in the last episode of Talking Politics, which explored the reasons behind the political crisis over the MVA, the Mahavikas Aghadi government in Maharashtra, that of course is now over, the formation or the fall of the government is a sidelight to the entire crisis. And the real story would be the future of the Shiv Sena and the political constituency it represents in Maharashtra, one of the largest states in India with 48 Lok Sabha seats and a state that hosts the commercial capital of India, Mumbai. According to sources in the BJP, the appointment of Eknath Shinde, the leader of the rebel Shiv Sena faction, as chief minister was to kill many birds with one stone. A, it would blunt the MVA's charge that the BJP was power-hungry and had toppled the MVA government only to put their own party member in charge. B, by appointing Shinde, a Shiv Sainik, it would also help dilute the emotional effect of Uddhav Thackeray's exit and his connections with the Shiv Sena rank and file, about his feelings of betrayal by Shinde, and it would give strength to Shinde and BJP's contention that Uddhav had pushed the Shiv Sena inherited from late Balasaheb Thackeray into an unnatural alliance with the NCP and the Congress and sidelining the Hindutva ideology in the process. The Hindutva ideology, which was the basis of the Mahayuti or the BJP Shiv Sena alliance for over 3 decades, just to get the chief minister's chair. Now, the battle for the Sena symbol, the bow and arrow, and the recognition of a particular faction as the real Shiv Sena will be washing up at the doors of the election commission soon. Shinde being in power will help shore up support of the rank and file within the Sena organization, or at least this is the hope of the BJP. All of this will help the Shinde Sena and BJP alliance to put up a good show at the upcoming polls, the local body polls in many cities and areas, towns in Maharashtra, especially the BMC, the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, the richest corporation in India and the bedrock of the Shiv Sena's strength. All factors were aimed briefly to put it briefly, at diminishing the Uddhav Thackeray family hold on the party and legacy of Balasaheb Thackeray. In all of this, what was the reason for Fadnavis to be made Deputy Chief Minister? Within minutes of JP Nadda's appeal, messages of shock were going around BJP supporters in Maharashtra who had expected Fadnavis, if not as the Chief Minister, then the exalted role as kingmaker. In fact, a lot of BJP supporters had said that they could well understand why Eknath Shinde had been made Chief Minister. But why ask Fadnavis to serve under him as the deputy when he had been Chief Minister of the state just 2.5 years ago was something that most people did not get. They looked at it as a demotion. Well, first, the positive reason being put forward by the BJP. Fadnavis, as Chief Minister between 2014 and 19, had a proven track record of administrative acumen. He had left a lot of things to be completed in what could have been his second term in 2019, when he and the Shiv Sena, the BJP and the Shiv Sena, had won a majority, but then the Shiv Sena broke off. He's also the tallest leader of the BJP in Maharashtra. The party felt it needed its own man working from within in a government where it felt it has the largest share of MLAs, but not the chief minister's seat, because they needed somebody to kind of keep an eye on Eknath Shinde. They had given the chief minister's chair to a faction of the Shiv Sena, but they wanted their most influential leader in Maharashtra to be part of that government. Now, what are the negative reasons that are being talked about Fadnavis being made to take on the deputy chief minister's chair? Well, there were apprehensions that Fadnavis, by staying outside of the government, could be more powerful than within it. This is not a good sign for a cadre-based party like the BJP. Individual careers were to be sacrificed for long-term goals of the party. The long-term goals of the party here, very clearly, and I said this in the last episode of Talking Politics, was how to appropriate the legacy of Balasaheb Thackeray of Hindutva and also the nativist Marathi Manus regional appeal as well, which party like the Shiv Sena has advocated and is the bedrock of its support base. So the BJP has wanted the Thackeray family's influence to be removed and the appropriation of that support base to its own side for a very, very long time to come. Well, whatever the situation, the first big test of whether the arrangement will yield the political dividends it is expected to will be demonstrable in the polls for the BMC. The last time round, the BJP, despite getting 82 seats, and the Sena, which had got 84 seats, basically said, all right, you will have 2 seats more, you still get to control the BMC, although we will be your ally and will be supporting you from at the BMC. So BJP had ceded the control position to the Sena, and despite progressively and more than incrementally improving its tally. For example, in the 227-member BMC, the BJP clocked 25 seats in 2007, 31 in 2012, and a whopping 82 in 2017, the last time the elections had taken place for the BMC. The Shiv Sena has been fairly consistent with regard to its record in the BMC. It got 84 in 2007, 75 in 2012, and 84 again in 2017. The Sena had been controlling the BMC since 1997. The 2022 polls, which are due in a few months, will reveal a lot. The BJP is hoping that this scatter in the Sena will help it shore up its own support base within the BMC, and the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Around September, October is what we are told that the BMC polls will be held. With that, I will have to conclude this episode of Talking Politics because the battle in Maharashtra seems to have only just begun. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week.